All right, Shalom. Before I begin, I'm going to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem El-Shah, Ba'ashem Kakadash, and double honors to the apostles and elders, great millstone, and Shalom to the Akim, teaching his word throughout the four corners in true sincerity. Back with another lesson through the spirit part, Yahweh Ba'ashem El-Shah, and holy edifying unto the elect. All right. The topic of this lesson, is going into, Revelation 5. I went through 5, Lord willing, I finish, the chapter. All right. Just starting with the first 5 verses. Right, because this chapter is very, important. All right, deals with, how the seals were loosed. All right, how we were. So like it. I talked about the importance of Yahweh Shai as well. He needs to get the praise because without him, all right, we wouldn't be able to, break down the scriptures how we are breaking it down today, especially, as we're living in the last days. All right, the scriptures tell us in 1 Peter 4:13, not 4:13, 4 and 7. It says, but the end of all things is at hand. Be ye therefore sober and watch unto prayer. So we're at the end of Esau Edom's, rulership, and we understand that after his rulership, we're up next to rule. All right, the so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans scattered throughout, the four corners of the earth. All right, the 12 tribes of Israel. All right. This is 2 Ezra 6 and verse 9. I'm going to start at 7. It says, then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of the times, and when shall be the end of the first, and the beginning of it that followeth? And he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the head of Esau, and that was very, symbolic. All right, meaning that we were going to take Esau Edom, out of rulership. All right, when Yahushua returns. All right, it says, and he said unto me, from read it again, and he said unto me, from Abraham to Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the head of Esau. And this also shows you that it was always meant to be that we were going to, be over him, because even in that account when they were being born, all right, it talks about how the elder will serve the younger. All right, because of our disobedience to Yahweh Ba'ashem El-Shai, we've been scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, serving different idols, all right, of wood and stone. All right, but this is ultimately a learning lesson for us as a nation, okay? It says, for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. So, we're right up next, all right? And again, we're living in the last days. This is our last captivity of us, all right, being under the heathens, being under our enemies, all right? And it's starting, it really started, this mass awakening of us started in the late 60s, dealing with Albert Bibbins. All right, and that's around the time when the Lord had it, we would start to wake up. Okay, Revelation 5, talks about, relates to it. I should say, when you read it. But Revelation 5, it started, 1. It says, and I saw on the right hand of him that sat on the throne. So who's sitting on that throne? Talking about Yahweh. All right, and who is Yahweh? That's the true name of God. It's not just God, it's Yahweh, all right, Yahweh, which means he is, or he exists, Yahweh. And it says a book written within, and on the back side sealed with 7 seals. So, that book is talking about the scriptures and it being sealed, all right, meaning it was completely sealed. All right, we didn't have, the wisdom and knowledge of the scriptures that we have, now, okay? We couldn't, break it down. We couldn't, understand it. We were dead to this knowledge. All right. But now as we're living in the last days, the Lord had it that we're waking up to it. All right. This is Daniel 12 and 4. It says, but thou, Daniel, shut up the words and sealed the book. Right. So sealed, it was sealed. All right. Even to the time of the end. Right. We're living in the times that end now. All right. even starting with the late 60s or Albert Bivens. All right, it says, many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. All right, knowledge has, been increased. All right, with us, because again, we weren't able to break it down. And this truth is very, very vital, All right, to us, seeking the Lord and repenting, right? Because if you don't know, or what names are you gonna call on? We didn't know the names, we didn't know the prophecies, we didn't know nothing. We were, dry bones. All right, like it says in Ezekiel 37, we were dry bones. All right, we didn't have the sinews, we didn't have the spirit. All right, but now at the Wadi Yahweh Shema Shai, and with the Wadi Yahweh for Yahweh Shai, because of his sacrifice and what he did. All right, and it talks about even in the time of the end. All right, and this is very important when it talks about the time of the end, because dealing in the late 60s and 70s, all right, each star was, having them, the missions to the moons, dealing with the shuttle, all right. It was, so-called going to the moon and etc. But that was very symbolic, all right. This is Isaiah 1, and start at 3. It says, the pride of thine heart hath deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the cleft of the rocks, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? Him being very prideful. It says, though that exalt thyself as the eagle, and though thou set thy nest among the stars, thence will I bring thee down, saith the Lord the house. So during the late 60s and 70s, dealing with those missions, that was very symbolic, because even though he was acting like he was going to the moon, that was, a sign for us that the Lord was going to, take him down. All right. He would represent a height, the height of his kingdom. Right? And him having the missions, right, was the Lord telling him that he's going to, take him down, because his kingdom was never meant to rule, for a long period of time. This is only a little season, as the scriptures say. All right, the scriptures talk about him having bounds that he cannot pass. All right. But staying on the topic, Revelation 5:2, it says, and I saw a strong angel proclaiming with a loud voice, who was worthy to open the book and to loose the seals thereof. Because again, we need, all right, this wisdom and knowledge, all right, to break down the scriptures. We needed to, know what's about to happen in the future. All right, we need to know what's going to happen in the future. All right, to break down the prophecies, not only for us, but to teach it, all right, as well. All right. It says, and no man in heaven, nor on earth, neither under the sea was able to open the book, neither to look thereon. So nobody was able to, basically unseal, all right, to loose the seals. All right. And I wept much, because no man was found worthy to open and to read the book, neither to look thereon. And one of the elders said unto me, weep not, behold. All right, so nobody was able to loose the seals, right? It says, and one of the elders said unto me, weep not, behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, hath prevailed to open the book and to loose their seals thereof. So who is this talking about? All right, let's go to Hebrews 7:14. Okay, Hebrews 7:14. It says, for it is evident that our Lord sprang out of Judah, of which tribe Moses spake nothing concerning priesthood. Again, so because of Yahweh Shai, he was the one that was able, to loose the seals. All right, that's when we had, Abba Bivens in the late 60s breaking down the scriptures, having, all right, Israelites throughout the four corners, all right, starting in New York, all right, waking up, okay. It's Malachi 4:5, starting at 5, it says, behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord Yahweh, right? And for you to understand, all right, this precept, you have to understand, all right, reincarnation, because you're talking about Elijah. I ain't hear about no Elijah, coming, before the great day of the Lord. All right, but again, you have to understand reincarnation, because reincarnation is in the scriptures. All right. So he said he was sent Elijah. All right, and his name was Abba Bivens in the late 60s. All right, and it says, and he shall turn the heart of the fathers to the children, and the heart of the children to their fathers, as I come and smite the earth with a curse. All right, so causing Israelites to repent and seek the Lord. All right, and I talk about, reincarnation, because it tells us in, what is that, Luke. Not Luke. Yeah, it's Luke. It's Luke 1. I'll write on it. Sloppy. It's like it. This is Luke 1. Start at 15. It says, for he. Number start at 15. It says, for he shall be great in the sight of the Lord, and shall drink neither wine nor strong drink. And he shall be filled with the Ruach HaKodesh even from his mother's womb. And many of the children of Israel shall turn to the Lord their power. And he shall go before him in the spirit and power of Elias. You know, talking about Elijah, because Elijah was also John. All right, to turn the heart of the fathers to the children, and the disobedient to the wisdom of the just, to make ready a people prepared for the Lord. So exactly matching up with Malachi, 4 and 5. All right, he was preparing, in a way, preparing the elect, for the Lord. He was part of that. He was part of that. What the word I want to use? He was part of that. That movement, right? Basically sparked the Lord using us spark, all right, a fire in the earth. And as you can see, there's men of the Lord, all right, members of the elect, throughout the four corners of the earth, teaching, all right, the scriptures, all right. But it started, all right, with him, as you can see, all right. Again, going back, you have to understand reincarnation, all right, because reincarnation is in the scriptures. But also, I want to bring the revelation, all right, because you may ask, why was it, all right, why was it that it was in, the late 60s, all right, because that's how the Lord had it to be. Because remember, we was going through, hard bondage. All right, this is Revelation 11. I'm going to start at 8. It says, and their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city. All right, that great city. I'm going to start with the dead bodies. Those dead bodies represents, all right, us, being in a dead state. All right, not knowing, again, who we are. All right, that's why we had the seals had to be loose, because we was dry bones, dead bodies, spiritually. All right, and it says in the street of the great city. That's talking about America. All right, here, America can be called, Sodom. Egypt can be called, Babylon. All right, that great city. It says, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt. Why? And why is it spiritually called Sodom and Egypt? Because it's Sodom because of, what was going on in Sodom. All right, a lot of, alphabet gang, Momo shit. All right, men with men. All right. It says in Egypt because Egypt was a bondage, a captivity for the Israelites. And it says, or also our Lord was crucified. All right, talking about how they, etched out the image of Yahweh Shah, his ways. They painted him to be a so-called white man. All right. And they of the people and kindreds and tongues and nations shall see their dead bodies 3 days and a half. So he's talking about the nations, seeing us in a dead state. And it talks about 3 days and a half. All right, that 350-year period. All right, from 1619 to what? 1969, the late 60s. All right, 350 years. Okay. And it says, it shall not suffer their dead bodies to be put in the graves, right? So, us being in hard bondage, or them not telling us, who we were, all right? All right, and why would they, right? These are our enemies. It says, and they that dwell upon the earth shall rejoice over them and make merry, and shall send gifts, talking about slaves, all right, one to another, right? So again, they rejoice. All right, guess again, they are our enemies. Why wouldn't they rejoice? These are the same, nation. All right, I'm gonna finish reading this. It says, because these two prophets tormented them that dwell on the earth. So those two prophets represent northern and southern kingdom. All right, the whole 12 tribes. All right, so breaking down the whole verse, they was rejoicing. All right, sending slaves one to another. It talks about that in Joel 3. All right, they made a boy for a harlot, they sold a girl for wine. All right, and it says, the reason they were just because we tormented them, basically putting belt to ass, having them under captivity, having them under subjection. All right, and they rejoiced because of that, because we were so powerful. And why were we so powerful? Because we had, again, this wisdom and knowledge. We had the name of Yahweh Shema Shah to call on when we needed help to fight against our enemies, the other nations. All right, but once this truth is taken away, All right, these nations saw opportunity to take us down, and they saw us in that dead state. All right, representing those dead bodies. They saw us in that dead state, and they completely took advantage. And the Lord let them, because even taking it a step further, we went off. All right, because it's not even about them just being stronger. No, they're not stronger than us. The Lord really had to, put a cap on our strength. All right, taking away the wisdom and knowledge. All right, taking away our most important, tool, basically. That's the name of Yahweh Bashim Shai. All right, and this is after 3 days and a half, so after 350-year period, in 1969, right, the spirit of life from the Most High entered into them, and they stood up upon their feet, and great fear fell upon them which saw them. So after 350-year period in 1969, right now, you have prophets, out, on highways and byways and, downtown areas teaching the word. And these other nations seeing that, all right, they're scared because they never thought that, we would come back to this state of calling upon the name Yahweh Bashim Al-Shah, being bold. All right, another precept for us, Wisdom of Solomon 5 and start at 1. It says, then shall a righteous man stand in great boldness before the face of such as have afflicted him, and made no account of his labor. So, the heathen seeing us stand in great boldness. All right, starting with Esau Edom, which is so-called white man. All right, so them seeing us stand in great boldness. All right, not being ashamed, not looking dumbed down on drugs and run about bullshit like sports and weed and women and, chicken. All right, them seeing us on the highways and byways teaching like that with the spirit of Yahweh Bashim Yahshua upon us, they're scared. All right, because again, they done wasted, trillions and billions of dollars to put us down, but all right, it was not of you that put us down, but it was Yahweh Bashim Yahshua. All right, now the seals are loose. All right, we have this truth. We're able to break it down like I'm doing now. I call upon the name of Yahweh Bashim Al-Shai. All right, proudly. All right, with strength, with boldness, I can say, with boldness and great boldness. All right, now they're fearful. And you may ask, why are they so fearful? Because again, when we were with our power, when we was when the Lord was dealing with us, all right, nobody could take us down. All right, now there's fear in their heart. All right, now they're trying to speed up their plans because they know they have but a short time. All right, that's when you go to Revelation 12 and 12. It says, therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. It says, woe, and woe means destruction. All right, meaning going into destruction. All right, to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he had but a short time. All right, so him seeing us wake up, he was fearful because now he knows that his time is short. And it's only just a matter of time till he gets taken out of power. And that's why he's going to try to roll on us. But you roll on us, then the Lord will have to lift up the standard. And that's exactly what's going to happen in these last days. The standard will be lifted for the men of Yahweh Bashim Al-Shai. Because now we're not in the dead state no more. Now the Lord is having mercy upon us. All right, the Lord's having grace. Starting with the elect. All right. With that alone, this lesson was edifying. I'm going to give all praises to Yahweh Bashim Al-Shai, Bashim Chakwadash, and the bonus to the apostles and elders of great millstone and shalom that I can teaching this word. Throughout the four corners and true sincerity, we must out here keep pushing. Shalom.